So how do we make our online classes more engaging? It's not only for online classes, but it becomes much more relevant because now many schools are moving either to completely online or to hybrid class structure, or even schools that are opening have their plans set up on sort of an emergency so that people can move online with one click. So the question is, how do we make sure that our classes are very engaging even with that remote learning environment or remote teaching environment? In this video, I'll be giving you 6 different tools that you can use in your classes in order to make your classes much more engaging than normal delivery of lectures through PowerPoint or just reading the PowerPoint slides or whatnot. So stick till the end of the video. 6 tools coming up next. Hey, what's up? Faizan here from Research Beast. On this channel, I share different tips and tricks for researchers, different motivational talks, and I also talk to experts about the research methods or anything related to research. So if you're interested in content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Before we get into the tools or the tools that can help you make your classes more engaging, what do we mean by engaging class? Like, that's very important to understand. What basically do we mean by saying that let's make our classes more engaging? Is it just so that a class where people talk to each other more is engaging, or is it something else? So in my opinion, and there might be a lot of different perspectives on this, and if you think otherwise, please comment down below and I'll be very happy to engage in a conversation with you in the comment section. But in my opinion, engaging classes are classes that enable learning for students in a much more friendlier way, and where the focus is on making sure that the students feel belong to that class, or students feel welcomed in that class to engage with other students as well as the professor. So that, in my opinion, would be definition of an engaging class. Now, obviously, whether you are teaching online or in person, there are certain things that need to be considered in order to make sure that your classes are engaging. After talking to many amazing people in my college or in other places, or while I was getting a certification for hospitality educators certification, even during that certification, there were a few things that I took note of, and I think that those things are very important to understand in order to make your classes really, really engaging. So let me list out those things that I feel are important for people if they want to make their classes engaging. And then the next step would be giving you 6 different tools that you can use in your online classes or even in your face-to-face classes that can help you get much more engaged in the class. So coming back to the question of what makes the classes engaging, I think that it's very important as a teacher for you to create a conducive environment. The environment should be very conducive in the class. It should be an enabling environment so that students feel welcomed in the class. So that's number one. Number two is, as a teacher, you must make sure that your students keep guessing. They shouldn't anticipate what is going to happen in the class. But if you can make your students feel guessing about what would the class look like, that ultimately or bring engagement into the class. So that's another thing that's very important. Number three is give students a chance to talk, give them a chance to express themselves in whatever way, and that can only be done if you as a teacher do understand that everybody is different and everybody's learning style is different. So the realization that everybody is different would ultimately give you also a realization that students need to be given chance so that they can express themselves, which is again another basic building block for engaging classes. Another thing is, for many people, what I've seen is, and sometimes it happens to me as well, because these days, especially when it comes to higher education institutes, professors do have multiple things to take care of. So it's not only teaching, but there's obviously a lot of research and service activities and reviewing and all that stuff. So many people start with some sort of activities to make their classes engaged, but then sort of during the semester that thing is just lost somewhere in the middle. So if you as a teacher want to make sure that your classes are engaging, make sure that you are consistent with it. Whatever you are using, let's say if you are using technology to make your classes engaged, make sure you do it consistently, do it regularly. And obviously there comes a time where it just becomes a natural part of your course planning, or if your classroom planning or whatnot. So be consistent with whatever activities you are gonna. Then there's another important thing, and that is provide positive feedback. So providing positive feedback reinforces on students learning from the class. But with that, I would also say that it's important that you celebrate success of your students. Then another thing is that you should design your classrooms that can facilitate learning. Now, if you are in a physical class, you can certainly do it. You can bring in technology in the class. Many schools or universities now have the smart boards where you can draw things and whatnot. You can do that. You can obviously change the structure of the seating in the class if that's what you can do. Normally it is proven that a U-shaped class brings more engagement compared to a traditional rectangular class where everybody is sitting in rows. So you can do something like that can facilitate learning. If you're doing online classes, then obviously you can use some sort of technology tools to do something like this. For example, many people are using Microsoft Teams, and now Microsoft Teams is moving beyond the traditional gallery view of thumbnails into something called Together mode. And Together mode is very interesting because it shows everybody in that online meeting into an auditorium setting, which it just is a fun way to bring more engagement, because everybody who is in that class can see all the participants sitting together with each other in an auditorium setting. So things like that can also create some sort of engagement in the class. The last thing which is very important to create engaged student body in the class is to make sure that you are building positive relationships. And these relationships can be beyond the classroom. So and it can only happen if we as teachers are mindful of our students, thinking that they also have their own life, they can go through things and all that. And I've seen that many people enforce the zero tolerance policy, which is just so dangerous, especially in today's world when we have this COVID thing, and people have lost their jobs, or many people are furloughed, or people's parents have lost jobs, or so everybody is going through very tough times. So make sure that you are mindful of the students and the problems that they are going through, and just try to build some positive relationships with students, which goes a long way. So again, these are just some tips, or not even tips, these are just some points that are very important for us teachers to understand on sort of building blocks of engagement in the class. Now, once we understand all these things, let's move forward and let's get into the 6 tools that I'll be talking about today that can help you bring more engagement into your online classes. Now again, these tools that I'm going to talk about, you can obviously use them into your face-to-face classes, not only for online classes. Make sure you work with them in the next couple of days before you implement them into your classes. The good part is that all the tools that I'll be talking about today can be used for free. So there is a premium version, but the free version do cover most of the features within these tools. And then the best part about all this is if your school is using Google based email servers, then all these tools have an integration with Google ID, so you can definitely log in using your teacher's ID. Your students can also log into these programs, and then they also work with Microsoft ID. So if your school is using a Microsoft based email address or Microsoft based servers, then you can definitely use that as well. USF, where my school is using Microsoft 365, so all the tools that I've logged in are through my USF email ID, and it's completely fine, no problem there. So let me get into my computer. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's get into the tool. Hey guys, if you think you are getting some value out of this video, please do not forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. I would also appreciate if you can share this video within your within your social networks or within your networks of people that may need this video. Going back to the video. Okay. All right. So now I am on my PC. So let's get into those 6 tools that I was talking about. Let's get into each tool. This video is not going to be tutorial for any of these tools. This is just to introduce these tools to you. So if you want a tutorial, either leave a comment below. I can make a full-fledged tutorial on how can you use those tools, or you can check out some other resources where you can get the tutorials for each of these tools. So let's get into it. The first tool that I would recommend to use is now again, it depends on whether you're going to use Google or Microsoft, but let's get into Microsoft first, because USF uses Microsoft Teams. And then I'll also tell you an alternate if you're using Google-based services or Google Classroom or something like that. So there's an app that comes with Windows 10. It's called Microsoft Whiteboard. Microsoft Whiteboard is similar to the whiteboard that we have in our classes. Let's see. Let me share my screen and get here, Microsoft Whiteboard. All right, so here we have Microsoft Whiteboard. This one, obviously, you can open any whiteboard that you want. Let's say I want to open a new whiteboard. This is where the whiteboard is. Now, you can definitely select different options that you from here. You can change the way things look like and all that. Let's go ahead and say we want to change the way these things look like. So format background, let's go to a solid color background. Let's make it white. I mean, you can change any color that you want. Let's change it into white color. Here is your Microsoft Whiteboard. Now, you can use this if you are teaching online, definitely if you are teaching online, or if you give students assignments, students can use this. It's very easy. It's just like Microsoft Drawing. So you can use anything here, and then you can also change the color of the pen, or the thickness of the pen or whatnot. So this is your whiteboard. Now, obviously you can use it in different ways. Now let's say if again your mouse cursor can be used in order to draw anything on this whiteboard. Let's assume that you have given students some assignment, or if you want to create an assignment, what you can do is just let's assume that I have this one assignment that I wanted students to look into. Let's say that I'll just copy this one for the sake of doing it, and I just paste it here. Now this is something that I pasted. So let's say I paste it here, and then let's say that I want students to add something to this whiteboard, but before that I just want to make it much more creative or whatnot. So this is seasonal hotels, whatever. What I can do is I can go and click on this insert menu or image or whatever. So let's say I go to this Bing image, and then I put here seasonal hotels and search for it. What's going to happen is I see a lot of these pictures. So let's say I just select this one, and this picture came here. Let's say you want students to add something to this one. So what you can do is you can add something near this picture. Let's say here is a note. So I just stick this note here. I mean, you can do whatever you want, and then you just post the sticky note or bring it up, and then students can do whatever they want to do. So this is a pretty cool thing that you can do with your classes. Now, just assume that if you have given students a case study assignment where each student or each group of students have to do something like this, or you want to provide them with a space where they can all collaborate and come up with ideas or whatever. So what you can do is either you can select, so if you come here on the top, you would see that invite someone, And then here, it's going to give you a lot of suggestions that, you can invite different people who can collaborate on this one, on this particular whiteboard. Or if you don't want to do that, what you can do is you can create a sharing link. And what we will do is here. So I copy link, and then what will happen is that I can send this link to certain teams. So let's say if in my class there are 5 teams, each team have got 5 students. What you can do is you can send the link to the team leader and just ask the team leader to share that link with only their group. And that way the whiteboard would only be shared with you as the teacher and the 5 people in that group. So the other students cannot come to this group. And or if you want, you can share the link with everybody in the class, and then they can come and collaborate here in this space. Obviously, it has a lot of different options in terms of the types of things. People can add text here. So let's say I want to tap. You can add a text, and this text can be formatted or whatnot. And then you can add notes, pictures, and some other things. So you can definitely add a list, and this is very cool. So let's say here is a list, and let's say you are working on a research paper, and then you have a few different things in this research paper. Let's say we need to discuss the introduction of the paper. We need to discuss the analysis and the conclusion. Now what would happen is that, let's say if these are the options that we have, what I can do is I can definitely as soon as I am done with, let's say, discussing the introduction, I can just click on it. The literature review, I can click on it or whatnot. I can, like it or whatever. So just some stuff to make sure that your classes are more engaged. And this can be easily done by, again, you can come here, you can do different type of stuff. You can brainstorm. So let's say if you want to do brainstorming or Kanban or retrospective, which is more effective meeting, you can definitely do something like this. So these are some, just some templates that you can use. Okay, and then similarly, you can add a sticker. Well, these days everybody do things like this. So I can add a sticker. And these are different tools. You can add Word documents, PowerPoint, PDF, whatever. So we can even try to integrate one PDF here and see what do we get. All right, so let's say I just add this one, either pages or insert all the pages. And this is a cool thing because you can add this one and you can allow your students to do some sort of discussion on these PDF pages. So this is just again something that you can do in your classes, and students will have more discussions around it. Now, one very cool thing is that if, let's say, you are in Teams, and many people do not use this option in Teams directly. So let's say if you are in Microsoft Teams, let me open this up. So let's just go into practice group and let's just start a meeting. So I am going to start a meeting, and once this meeting comes up, I'm just going to join this and let's see what happens. Okay, so here is where I join the meeting in Teams. Now, what will happen is, let's say I am going to share something, right? So when in Teams you share something like this, so when I click on the share, you get all these different options. You also get an option of whiteboard. So you can click on whiteboard, and the whole whiteboard is going to come up here. So here is exactly what you can do. Now, obviously here it's limited option. So it's not really like full-fledged the app that we had, but it's a limited one, right? So you can do this in the class, or either, again, the best option would be to basically open it through the app like this one. But this is how you can use Microsoft Teams and whiteboard in Microsoft Teams. Now, if you are using Google, let's say if you are using Google, there's exactly the same thing that you can use on Google, but that one is not called whiteboard, it's called Google Jamboard. So you can go to Google Jamboard here and just get started. When you are doing Google, like let's say if you're using a Google Classroom or whatever, so you can do this Google Jamboard. Now, this is exactly the same. You can change your background. You can add something, whatever you want to add. So let's say if I want to add something here, you do your writing, or you can add a sticky note, or you can add a picture, right? So again, the same thing, you can go to Google, search something, and then you can add them here. The good thing is that most of these pictures that you are selecting either on Jamboard or on Whiteboard are royalty free or Creative Commons, so you don't have to worry about licensing. I mean, when you share it with people, it's only going to be shared with the entire class, or you can add, same Microsoft Whiteboard type of thing. So this is, let's move to tool number 2, and this tool is called Padlet. So if I go here and I just add here, let's say Padlet. All right, so you get to Padlet, and then in Padlet, normally you'll have to log in. And then when you log in, what will happen is it's going to ask you whether you want to log in through Google or Microsoft or Apple. Let's say I'm just going to go with Microsoft. And now it brought me here, which is my home page, right? So welcome to Padlet. Now what you can do is obviously create a Padlet. So when I go here, create a Padlet, it gives you different type of options, right? So it depends on what type of assignment you are doing in your class, and then you can select accordingly. But let's say if you want to do a simple wall or a shelf, let's say we just go with wall. You can create a Padlet like this. And now you can obviously change a lot of stuff here. So let's say I just want to do it. Third one is the chalkboard, which looks like chalkboard. And then from here, I'll go back, and then the title, let's say I want to give it a title of Spirit Airlines case study. And then here, what do you think of Spirit Airlines? And then this is what it is. You can change a lot of stuff here. I mean, I can change, let's say just change it into an airline. Okay, and now what will happen is that this is my Padlet. Okay, so now what I can do here is very simple. I can come here and start posting on it. So what I can do is, it's same like Whiteboard, but it's just a little bit different. So I can come here, I can post something from here, or let's say I don't want to do this. I will search something from internet, to videos, Airline bad service. So let's just pick up one of these, post it in Padlet here, and then what I will do is I just put it like this here. And then what will happen is, now let's, I want my students to come and watch this video and share their reactions. What I can do is click on share, and then here I can add members, which can be my students. I can copy the link to clipboard and put it on Canvas or whatever management system you're using, or get a QR code so students can scan it and get ahead with that, or all that stuff. So what I can do is, instead, let's do QR code, and then let me go and let me just go there as a student. So I just posted something here which is so bad. So this is, let's say, one of your students, they can do this. People can, your students will have exactly the same layout, so they can actually go in there and they can upload anything that they want. So let's say I just go here, and then your students can basically go here, upload anything from their computer. They can put a link as a response to this. They can search something from Google, take their own photo from their camera. They can shoot a voice recording or a movie, or record their screen, or draw something, or add another thing. So this is just another way to engage students into a fun way. So that's your tool number 2, called Padlet. Let's move on to tool number 3. And tool number 3 that I have with me is basically called Peardeck. Now, Peardeck is again a very interesting tool. And what it basically does is it helps you with your PPT slides. So what happens is, many times when we are starting our presentation, during the presentation we want to ask people questions. Now there are certain options for that. You can either integrate the question within the PPT using Microsoft PowerPoint itself, but it just seems like boring, and then there's no way for you to get real-time feedback. There's another option of poll everywhere, which many people are using, which is good, but sometimes it's a little bit technical because you have to integrate it really well. Now, Peardeck is a good option. It works with Microsoft PowerPoint. It works with Google Slides. It works with Google Slides much better than PowerPoint, but again, this is just one tool. You can obviously try it and see if it works for you. So let's get into teacher login. Let's say I go here to OneDrive, right? So you can do different type of things. Peardeck for PowerPoint, you can create a presentation like all from the start, like a new presentation, which you can definitely do. But if you have your presentation already built, then what you can do is, instead of coming here, what we will do is, let's go back here and let's go to my OneDrive. And in this OneDrive, I just want to go to this COVID-19. I have it as my file in OneDrive. So I want to do a live session. If you're doing a synchronous class, if you're doing a asynchronous class, let's say, then you can definitely do the start student based one. But let's go with the start live session. So once you do this, it's going to prompt you to your PPT presentation mode. So let's just wait for it to happen. Now what will happen is, you're going to give this link, this code to your students. And what your students are going to do is, they get into joinpd.com and then just put this code, and that way they will get into the presentation. Okay, so let me go ahead here. Okay, this is the presentation thing, right? So this is my presentation. If we look at the stuff, this is what the presentation looked like. But let's say, before starting the presentation, I just want to ask people some questions. So I'll go here to new prompt, click on new prompt, and then it's gonna give me some options, ready-made options that you can, so there are a lot of questions here that you can see definitely. But let's say, before I start the presentation, I just want to ask students about what do they think of today's class, or let's say I just, ask about their stress check, which looks interesting. So I add this one, and now what I'm going to do is, I'll just ask my students to log in. So let me log in from my computer, and that way it will be easy for you to see in real time what's happening. Yeah, so on my screen, if you see, I can see exactly what's on the screen. So let's say I'm just gonna select one of them. Okay, so now when students are doing this, as a teacher, what I can do is, while they're answering their questions, I can click on this hide responses or show responses. When I click on show responses, now on the screen, if you see this blue thing, this is me as a student. I am doing it on my mobile. And let's say I would say something is bothering me, and then other students can do exactly the same. This is a cool way of engaging the students with your PPTs. But let's say I want to go ahead onto the next slide, which obviously is happening real time. If you look at my mobile screen, you would see that it's changing right now, right? So let's say I get here, And then now I just want to ask students something very quick. So I'll add a new prompt, and you can definitely do this beforehand, integrate it into your slides, and that way students will see this. So let's say during the class, I just want to ask something like this: what I know, what I want to know, and what I learned. So in this case, students are just going to go ahead and with their pens text, they can add something here. Now just remember that these responses are from the students. This is coming up from students. And then again, this is a good way for you to engage students within the PPT while you are doing it. And this is also good to see if students are paying attention or not. So that's what we have as tool number 2 called Peardeck. So this is a very interesting tool. Definitely use it and see how it works for you. Now let's move to tool number 4. And tool number 4, maybe a lot of you already know it. It's a very interesting tool. Again, it's called Kahoot. And what you can do is go to Kahoot on Google and look at what you can do with Kahoot. Log in, and this is again, you can use the free version. So I'm just going to log in here and see what I have. Okay, so this is Kahoot. Now in Kahoot, you can do different type of games, and it's pretty cool. So let's say I use this one, which is a marketing quiz, right? So this one will be done beforehand. You can go, you can create some questions. Let's say I just want to edit this one. So what will happen is that you are gonna put your question here, you can put a picture, and then these are the answers. And then you can use this in your class when students come. I can actually show you something that I have used. So how do I use it in my own classes? And you will see this. Students have to go pick up a name for themselves. They have to go to their laptop to kahoot.it, and then they need to use a pin to start the game. And how can you get the pin? It's very interesting. Let me just do done. So let's say if I'm using the same game in my class, so what I'll do is I'll click on play, and then for virtual classes or whatever, so let's say I'm just going to do a virtual class, I click on play. It brings me here. You can select the game options, and the game options are good. You can do nickname generator for students. It will give them some options for that. You can select any type of music that you want. You can randomize the questions and all that. And let's say we want to do a classic game. So here, if you see, okay, so what you will do is the students have to go to kahoot.it, put this game pin, and then you will see that their name is going to show up. Again, let me just go and do this very quick on my phone. So you will see that I am here, Ali, right? So once your students are here, you can start the game, and then this is what you see. I mean, what they see on their screen, right? So basically you can't see my screen because of virtual desktop. You will see here, see? So me as a student, that's how this game is played. And then after this, you will see I got a 0 point or whatever. So this is how the game is played. This is again for question and answers. It's a pretty interesting game. Go ahead, use it, and then comment below and tell me how do you feel about it. So that is your tool number 4. Let's move on to tool number 5. And tool number 5 that we are going to use is another interesting one called FlipGrid. Now, FlipGrid is a very, very popular program that many people are using. It just helps you bring stuff like TikTok or Instagram into your class, and you can use it to engage your students much better. So let's go to FlipGrid. Again, all these websites pretty much work the same. You have to make an account, you create things, and then students can enter by joining using a code or whatever. So let's say I get into educator login. Here it shows add a topic, right? So I add a topic. It's going to ask me, I'm just going to create the same thing again, employee empowerment. And then here, I'm just going to put here a story of you feeling empowered at your work. I mean, I'm just making it up. And then you can allow students to do different things. Now, what's interesting is that FlipGrid has a very good integration system. So what you can do is you can add anything to your post, right? So here, maybe a good idea is to record your own self in a video and tell people how did you feel empowered at work, and then let students answer on that. And what you can do is you can obviously record a video. So when I click on this, what will happen is you can record your video, upload it. You can use a YouTube video, upload an image, which again, I can do this. So you can bring an image from your desktop. You know, let's say I'm just going to put this one, crop it. And so it's the image that you added. And then here, either you can do a private or public. Private is where you want only your students using their official email addresses to join this session. So here you have to specify, let's say I just want to have people with at usf.edu to join. You can also put a password and then share that password with your students, again, just to be sure that, you know, everything is done properly, and create a thing. Now, this is the link that you will have to send to your students. You can obviously do a QR code, or you can share on Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or whatnot. So all set. Now, this is the session. So students will have to join this code. Let's say I just click on this. So now this is going to log me in as a student. So here, let me just go ahead and do it with Google. So let's just do this Google. Okay, so here it's not allowed to join. Again, why? Because I just said you cannot join it. So what I'll do is instead go with Microsoft and now what happened is, if you see this, this is the student view. So students are going to come here. It shows employee empowerment. If this is what I said, tell me a story of you feeling empowered at work. This is the picture. Now, if instead of picture, I would have uploaded a video, I would have seen it here. But as a student, what I'll do is record a response. So I click on this, and then as a student, I can actually record. Now, again, because I'm using my camera here, so I cannot do that, right? So, but again, as a student, you can record your response, and then each student is going to put their video. Believe me, this worked very good. It's quite an engaging platform for engaging your students into class discussions and whatnot. So, and it also takes a very little time because everybody have got their phones. They can easily sign in with their phone, shoot the video on the phone, just say something and then upload it instead of like opening a laptop and typing something or whatever. So this is tool number 5 that you can use for your classes. FlipGrid. Now moving to the last tool, which is a very cool tool again, and there are not many options like that available. So I use a lot of YouTube videos in my class, and I ask students to watch the video and then, or either part of an assignment, or I simply ask them, if not compulsion to watch a video, just go on YouTube and search some information and, you know, provide a link in your assignment or whatnot. So if, let's say, you are doing something like that and you want to make sure that students really watch the whole video, there's a very interesting tool for it, and I really like it. It's called EdPuzzle. So let's say I go to EdPuzzle. Let's say I want to go to home and I want to create something for my class, right? So what I do is I go to my content. Okay, in my content, I'll go to add content. So I can do a student project, upload a video, or create a video. So let's say I want to go to create a video. Okay, in this create a video, you can pick up any video available here, right? Because you want students to watch the video. You are not basically recording. I mean, if you want, you can record yourself, but this is what you can do, and you can pick up things from YouTube, EdPuzzle, Khan Academy, and all this stuff. So let's say I want to pick up something from YouTube. Okay, now one thing is you just add something here, search from within YouTube, or you know, you can copy paste the link. So let's say I just want to go to my own channel, which is YouTube/research base. So this is my own channel. So let's say I just want to pick up something from here. for students to watch as a part of an assignment. So what I do is, let's say, just pick up something here, Microsoft Word 365 here. Click on share, copy the link, and then what I do is go back, close this one, go back here, paste the link. It's going to give me this video. Now what happens is that, let's say you want students to watch this video and you want the students to come here where you are talking about abbreviations.com, right? So right before this, let's say you want students to watch this previous part of the video. So here I'm going to add cut. And once I say add cut, I just add a question here at this point. And the question can be open-ended, a note, or multiple choice question. So let's say I just add a multiple choice question here. Word Pro is an extension application activity. Okay, so I know that it's an extension, so I select it as the right one and I save. Okay, so now what will happen is when students are watching this video, here they cannot watch after this. So let's say I just finish this one, and then what will happen is here, when the students come here, they'll see that this is the to do and this is their quiz, right? So this can be a quiz. You can basically use a due date or whatever, prevent skipping. This is what you can do, right? So now I go back to, okay, so when I come here, I say it's an application and submit it. This is going to give me 0. So what I'll do is I'll rewatch. So it's going to bring me back to rewatch the video until I get it right. So what I'll do is go back here. I can add a class here. So right now I don't have a class here, but I can do something here. Let's say research methods, and then create a class. So what will happen is I'll assign it to this class, and then I can send this one to my students, or I can add my students to this particular class. You get the idea of it, that you can use YouTube videos or any other content, and you can add quizzes on top of that content in order for students to watch it and learn something from it. So I'll stop here. These are 6 different tools that I use in my classes to make sure that students are engaged. But please be mindful that today the students are much more connected than like 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Students have got their smartphones in their hand. They're very used to social media. So all the tools that I told you about today are tools that students are feeling very natural about. So very natural for them to engage using these tools, especially in remote learning environments. So I hope that you have learned something from these tools. If you think there's any other tools that you can share, please put them into the comments below so that other people can also learn from it. If you like the video, please make sure that you like the channel, subscribe the channel, and share the video with other people who might not, who might need this type of video. Thank you very much and have a good day.